Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we will learn how to weave a barrel-shaped basket. You can use it for storing anything from walnuts to art supplies to yarn skeins and kitchen utensils. For this basket I will color the paper rods with the effect of the aged patina. You can choose any color palette. Regardless of the color palette you choose, start from coloring the paper rods in a base color. I will color my paper rods in light gray using Tintex charcoal gray fabric dye. I start from coloring the paper rods by immersion and let them dry for a couple of minutes. For the color palette, I chose such colors. It's a variety of the acrylic paint. Apply a very small amount of the acrylic paint with a brush. Avoid the uniform distribution of paint. We need to paint the paper rods randomly in several different colors to create the aged patina effect. Start from the darker colors. In my case it's pine green, hunter green and emerald green. I will use some brown color as well. Finish with the lighter colors. I use peridot and ice blue. Shuffle the paper rods around as you color them. The last color is white, just a few brush dashes here and there. At the end I got such combination of colors. I prepared a bowl, which I will use as a template or mold. Now let's calculate how many paper rods we need to use for this length and how many stakes we need to have at the widest part of the basket. The circumference of my bowl, in its widest part, is 66 centimeters. The maximum distance between the stakes for this particular pattern is 2.75 centimeters. 66 divided by 275 is 24. It means I need to have 24 stakes for weaving the walls of the basket. So I take 6 rods. When we start weaving the round bottom, each rod equals to 2 stakes, that is, I have 12 short stakes at the very beginning of the round bottom. After weaving several rows, I will double the stakes, thus I will have 24 stakes. So let's start weaving. Take 2 weavers, cut a little corner off at the butt end of one weaver, cut approximately 3 cm at the butt end of the other weaver to make a long point. Press it between your fingers, make a kink with a nail in the center and fold it. Put a drop of glue into the butt end of the second weaver and insert the first weaver into the butt end of the second weaver. Rotate the second weaver a little bit to ensure the proper connection. Fold the connected weavers in half. The place where the weavers are connected needs to be approximately 1 cm away from the fold. Always make sure your paper rods are properly prepared for weaving. Put the connected weavers around the first set of 3 stakes. Bring the weaver from the back and put it over the top weaver and over the second set of stakes. Place the top weaver behind the stakes. Repeat the same steps to make the first 2 rows. It's time to connect the new weavers. Make a kink on the weaver with your nail at the place where it will be touching the stake. Make a cut about 1 cm away from the kink to make a long point. Make the edge of the butt end of the second weaver even. Do it every time when connecting the weavers. Put a drop of glue into the butt end. Press the cut end of the old weaver between your fingers, make a kink with a nail at the center, fold it, and insert into the butt end of the new weaver. Rotate the new weaver a little bit to secure the connection. We have made 2 rows, which are also called rounds. Now we need to start spreading the stakes out. Continue weaving around 1 stake at a time. Connect the new weavers as needed. Make sure the weave is tight. I wove 5 rounds after spreading the stakes out. I check the woven part against the bowl to see how many rows I need to weave. It's time to double up the stakes and to replace the short old stakes with the long new stakes, which we will be using up until we reach the border. Put the plastic straws on the weavers to keep the moisture in. Prepare 24 dry paper rods and cut approximately 3 cm off at the butt end of each paper rod to make a long point. Cut the old stakes off using a shear cutter as close to the weave as possible. Make a space to the right of the old stake using a knitting needle. Apply some glue to the cut surface of the paper rod and insert it to the right of the old stake with the cut surface touching the old stake. Add a new stake to the left of the existing stake in the same manner. Mark the first inserted stake. I usually mark the first stakes with a piece of the masking tape. Add the stakes all around the bottom. Take the plastic straws off and continue weaving around 1 stake at a time. I wove 4 rounds and reached the first stake. We wove the whole bottom with a so-called pairing weave. The next row will be a 3-rod twine. We need to make a proper transition to it. So we are at the first stake. Move the bottom weaver to the left, place the top weaver behind the stake and out, place the bottom weaver over the top weaver and down. To make things easier, I will attach the weave to the bowl. There is no need to explain how I do it, just watch the video. Then I put the bowl on something tall, for example on a 4-liter jar. It will prevent the damage of the stakes when we start bending them downwards. Otherwise, the stakes will be bent against the table and will crack because they are dry. To add the 3rd rod, take a weaver, bend it and place it like that. Start weaving a 3-rod twine by taking the leftmost weaver and placing it over 2 stakes behind the 3rd stake and out. Start pressing the stakes down gently as you weave. Continue weaving the 3-rod twine up until you reach the first marked stake. We have reached the first stake and need to step up to the next row, which will be a 4-rod row. Take the rightmost weaver, place it over 2 stakes behind the 3rd stake and out. Repeat this step with the remaining 2 weavers. Now add the 4th weaver the same way we added the 3rd weaver in the previous row and start weaving a 4-rod twine by taking the leftmost weaver and placing it over 3 stakes behind the 4th stake and out. Continue weaving the 4-rod twine up until you reach the first marked stake. We have reached the first stake. Similarly to finishing the 3-rod twine, take the rightmost weaver, place it over 3 stakes behind the 4th stake and out. Repeat this step with the remaining 3 weavers, always taking the rightmost weaver. I remove the bowl from the jar and set it up on a waist twisting disc with a piece of plywood on it to protect the weave from scratching. Put something heavy into the bowl to have a better control of the basket you weave. Now we need to add the fifth weaver in the same manner as we have already done twice. All the rest of the basket except the border will be woven with a pattern requiring 5 weavers. If you want your basket to look tidy, you need to connect the weavers in the right place. Before we continue weaving, let's have a look at this picture. It's a picture of the same basket several rows later. Here we have 5 weavers going out from behind 5 stakes. There are 2 correct places for connecting the weavers in this pattern. The first one is located between the stakes number 3 and 4. The second place is located after stake number 5, right here. I will show you the examples of connecting the weavers at both places as we weave. So we have 5 weavers. In this pattern we always take the leftmost weaver and always put it in the same manner. Let's see how to do it. Take the leftmost weaver, put it over the next weaver and over one stake, behind the next stake and on top of the third weaver. Then place it under 2 weavers, behind the stake with no weaver and out to the front. I will show you this pattern slowly several times for you to remember it. I make a kink with a nail at a place where the weaver will touch the stake. This pattern is self-explanatory. Just continue watching the video. Here I connect the weavers in one of the 2 correct places, after stake number 5. And here I connect the weavers between the stakes number 3 and 4. Continue weaving this pattern up until you reach the top of the bowl. We have reached the top of the bowl. Make sure the edge is even by pressing the weave down and lifting it up a little bit if necessary. Put the plastic straws on the weavers to keep the moisture in. Cut the masking tape and remove the bowl. The next step is not required, but I highly recommend it, especially for the beginners. I still do it this way after several years of weaving because it simplifies the weaving process and ensures the basket is symmetrical. This step requires moisturizing the stakes. I showed how to do it in one of the previous videos, but I will show it again. Put the basket on a towel, prepare a syringe and lukewarm water. Inject some water into each stakes using a syringe. You will know that you have injected the sufficient amount of water if the stake is warm to touch and if it became flexible like a weaver. Inject the water in all the stakes. Now we need to make another arrangement. The height of my bowl is 9.5 centimeters. I need to get something that is twice as high as my bowl, that is 19 centimeters. I only have the glass jar that is 18 centimeters tall. I add another centimeter by using a piece of plywood. Just be creative. Now I put a glass jar and a piece of plywood into the basket and place the bowl on top of this arrangement upside down. The stakes now are moisturized and flexible. I press them to the bowl and secure them in place with a piece of string. Adjust the stakes if necessary to make sure they are straight. Leave it to air dry for several hours. After the stakes dry, they will retain the shape. It will be easy to weave around such stakes and the basket will look symmetrical. If you are an experienced weaver, or if you have a very good ability to judge by eye, you can skip this step and can continue weaving the basket by gradually bending the dry stakes towards the center. Several hours later, the stakes are dry. I take everything out of the basket and get another jar with a circumference very close to the diameter of the bottom of the bowl. This jar will help me weave the basket symmetrically because it will be used as a stopper for the stakes, preventing any or all of them bending too close to the center. It will also facilitate weaving the barrel shape of the basket where the bottom and the top have the same diameter. I put a bag of peas into the jar to hold it in place and to have a better control of the weaving. As usual, I put the basket on a waist twisting disc with a piece of plywood on it. Continue weaving the basket with the same pattern using 5 weavers up until you reach the desired height. Apply slight pressure on each stake as you weave around it so that the top of the stake was touching the jar or whatever you are using instead of it. I reached the desired height of the basket. Now I need to step up to the next. the front. Now you have only one pair of stakes left. First place the right weaver behind the next taken out and then the left weaver. The next step is placing each pair of stakes under two neighboring pairs of stakes and out to the top. In the last two pairs of stakes, start from the right stake and then proceed to the left one. Now we have only one pair of stakes left. I show with a knitting needle where to place it. Tighten everything up. During the last step of making the border, place the first pair of stakes behind the neighboring two pair of stakes to the right of the third pair of stakes under four already woven rods and down. I show with a knitting needle where to place it. Start from the right weaver, then proceed to the left one. We have the last two pairs of stakes. The left pair needs to go on the 6 already woven weavers where the knitting needle is in this picture. The last pair of stakes needs to go on the 8 already woven weavers where the knitting needle is in this picture. Cut the pieces of the weavers off using the shear cutters. Leave the body a little bit to be able to get as close to the weave as possible. The basket is almost ready. The last step in making any basket is applying a mixture of the acrylic varnish and water at the proportion of 1:1. I use mopwatch. I explained why the step is mandatory and how to do it in my previous videos, for example at the very end of this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video tutorial. See you again!